On today's Locked On Thunder podcast, what's been going on at Thunder practice this week? What will their rotation look like? And who are the Thunder going to play in round number one?
You are Locked On Thunder, your daily Oklahoma City Thunder podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Let's get it going on the Locked On Thunder podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Rylan Stiles, host of Locked On Thunder and Locked On NBA Saturday Nights, OKC Dream Team, and Thunder on SI beat writer. Joining us today is Joe Mussatto, the columnist with the Oklahoman, former Thunder beat writer, and also OKC Dream Team. Joe, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, Rylan. Anytime I can wake up and talk to you, what a day.
What a day. It's just getting started. We have a full day ahead of us, but I'm glad that you could make time to come on to Locked On Thunder and share your expertise. We still don't know who the Thunder's opponent's going to be yet, Joe, but we do know it's down to Dallas and Memphis. Of those two, is there any sort of pros or cons that jump out at you for the winner from Friday?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think that if it's Dallas, I think the Thunder will sweep. I mean, maybe it could go 5. If it's Memphis, I think it'll be 5. So I don't think either team poses a legitimate threat to the Thunder. However, both could be a nice first round test in different ways. Obviously, with Dallas, Lively and Gafford gave the Thunder troubles last year. They still have those two guys, and now they've added Anthony Davis to the mix. Now Dallas's problem is I just don't understand how they're going to score against the Thunder. But if the Thunder kind of wants to test themselves against some really good post defense, Dallas is that team. With Memphis, Memphis should be better than they've been playing, frankly, all year. There's been some dysfunction. Obviously, firing Taylor Jenkins, Jaw remains a wild card, but if you look at the big three of Shai, Dub, and Chet, it's better than Memphis's big three, but Memphis's big three will at least test you. Like anytime you're playing Jaw, Desmond Bane, and Jaren Jackson Jr., that's a legit team. Now the Thunder's way more deep. The Thunder has just destroyed the Grizzlies in the regular season series, but it's at least one of those first round matchups where I don't think if you care about the national narrative, it's not like people are going to say, oh, that was a cakewalk for the Thunder. I think they're going to see some of the big names on Memphis and give the Thunder a little bit of credit for making it past them.
Yeah, I would agree on all fronts. I think that they each present different challenges, but each should be dispatched in short order, 5 games or less for both, for the Thunder taking care of business in that first round, which would set up potentially even more rest for the Thunder, as we both assume, I imagine, that the Clippers-Nuggets series will go 6 or 7 games.
Yeah.
So that longer series, plus then you'd be starting the series at home. You'd then have to wait a day or two to start the series. So it would be beneficial for the Thunder to take care of business early against 2 inferior opponents. I mean, the first time that this group of Grizzlies wins a big game will be the first time that happens. So they haven't been able to beat good teams this year. So with the Mavericks, you would really just be able to get a look at the size of Dallas and figuring out how you want to balance the double big stuff. I know that Dallas could present some PTSD for some, and PJ Washington was confidence we had an all-time high and everything else, but the lack of a table setter, the lack of a guard play to set it up. I mean, Williams has done a great job for his role. Jaden Hardy's spunky, Spencer Dinwiddie, whatever. It's not Luka, it's not Kyrie, who both those guys were limited as scorers in that series. Credit to the Thunder for being able to stop them from exploding offensively in the point column, but they did a really good job of keeping the Mavericks offense in a rhythm, and you missed that for Dallas this year, to where it makes life harder on those role players to have big series. And then with AD and their size, I think that'd be the most interesting storyline. John, the Grizzlies, they could band together and win a game. I'd be willing to give them a game if it became a Memphis Thunder series, but no more than that to me. So the Friday night game is now inconsequential, I think, to the Thunder, because you don't have to worry about cross country travel to Sacramento. It stays regional. And this bracket, Joe, I think it's setting up pretty well for the Thunder. I mean, you have the bracket where you look at it here, and Luka, LeBron, Reeves, Ant, the Rockets hounding defense, and Steph Curry and the Warriors all on the other side. Your second round challenge will be tough, whether you draw the Clippers or the Nuggets, but you couldn't really ask for a better setup here.
Yeah, I'm with you, especially since neither of us think that the Thunder's first round series would go more than 5. You mentioned the travel. That's no small thing. I mean, it's just easy travel. And if we think that Nuggets Clippers series is going to go long, those teams are just going to beat up on each other. So the Thunder is going to have the upper hand no matter how no matter how that series plays out. But I feel like they could have the rest advantage and just be quite a bit more fresh entering round 2. Just to back up a little bit, I was impressed watching these play-in games with how Memphis and Dallas played. I mean, Memphis hasn't beaten a good team in months, but they almost did. They almost did in Golden State, and Dallas really took care of business against Sacramento. However, with Dallas, especially watching them last night, you mentioned obviously no Luka, no Kyrie, lack of a table setter. I was alarmed at how often Anthony Davis brought the ball up the floor and how they would just throw it to him outside the 3-point line and have him create, because like that just would not work against the Thunder. I mean, the Thunder's guards would just terrorize him. So it puts immense pressure on guys like Najee Marshall, Dinwiddie, Hardy, whoever else. I think it could just be a turnover fest against the Thunder, and that was one of Dallas's biggest strengths against OKC last year, is that they were a low turnover team with Luka and Kyrie, and I think that would just swing the opposite direction.
It would, Joe, and I think it's also fascinating, especially to set a tone for the series, that the Thunder got the ABC game on noon on Sunday, and you're going to be playing an 8:30 tip Friday to decide the 8th seed. Whoever wins has to go from Memphis to Oklahoma City after that game and be ready to play at noon on Sunday. No shoot around, not a lot of time in between to really prepare. The 8th seed will always have that disadvantage in terms of days, but now we're talking in terms of hours. What a dramatic difference this will be. Were you shocked at all to see the NBA put OKC in that kind of premier ABC slot?
Yeah, I had Rylan, I had plans for an Easter brunch over at my sister's. I had penciled in the nighttime start on Easter. I was surprised the Thunder got that early slot and kind of we don't think of noon as prime time, but like that classic Sunday noon slot on ABC. I just didn't think it would happen for the reasons you laid out. Like, it's terrible travel for whoever the 8th seed is, to make that kind of turnaround, and even crazier that it could have been, Sacramento, and tipping off at what would have felt like 10 a.m. for them in Oklahoma City. So it'll be a little easier for Dallas and Memphis, but still, like, the preparation, neither team's going to have a long time to prepare, but at least the Thunder will be home. I mean, Dallas or Memphis is going to, already have their bags packed and be traveling, and before you know it, they're going to be playing a game. So it makes it awfully, awfully tough for whoever wins that 8 seed game.
Especially surprising just because, the options on the table aren't great, because Cleveland and the Celtics are two of the other 4 teams, the other 4 games that are going to play. And those teams should dominate the Eastern Conference play-in for the Celtics, Orlando, and then we'll see about Cleveland. But they still should dominate those teams. So there's 3 really bad games on the docket, but still, we're talking about this Thunder team just as dominating an inferior opponent. I guess they're clinging to, perhaps, you can at least bill AD/Ja against Shai. But to me, it says a lot about what the NBA views the Thunder as, which is a really good team who's really marketable, who's really fun. And you've seen that throughout the last half of the season, them getting flexed into more national TV games. So it's coming around to the Thunder in terms of the national recognition. And we'll talk more about this Thunder team, including me and Joe have been out there at practice. We know all the scuttlebutt at the old Thunder practice facility. We'll let you know what that is coming up. But first, Joey, I got to tell you right now, my good friends over at Upwork. Upwork is great because scaling your business requires the right expertise at the right time. With Upwork, you can find specialized freelancers in marketing, development, design, and more, experts ready to help you take your business to the next level. Upwork gives businesses flexibility by connecting them with top freelancing talent across multiple industries, including IT, AI, web design, and marketing. Whether you need extra hands on a project or a long term partner, Upwork makes hiring simple and affordable. Go check it out today as you can have cost efficient growth. Instead of hiring full time, Upwork helps you find affordable, top tier freelancers to scale your business effectively. Visit upwork.com right now. Post your job for free. That's upwork.com, upwork.com to connect with top talent and grow your business today. We're back on the Lockdown Thunder podcast on the Lockdown Podcast Network, your teams every day. Joining us today is Joe Mussatto from the Oklahoman, the columnist, the former Thunder beat writer, the expert. Joe, you've been at Thunder practice. I've been at Thunder practice. We're about to head there again here in a few short hours. What's been the biggest sticking point for you from these days at Thunder practice?
I don't know. I mean, like, what's interesting about this time is the long layoff, like it was last year, and how the team really is treating it like a second training camp almost. It's like for the second part of the season, and during the year, we all know that practices are at a minimum. When they do practice, they're not all out 100% just getting after it. But really, these first couple days, I think Tuesday in particular for the Thunder was one of the hardest practices they've had in quite some time, and they're able to get some work in because they know they're not turning around and playing the next day. The other thing, I mean, we've talked to basically all the key players. I mean, outside of Shai and Chet at this point, and they're pretty key, I suppose. There's just kind of a quiet confidence, I think, about this team, and there should be. I mean, this is the most dominant team in regular season history. Now, we have talked to some vets who have been here before, like an Isaiah Hartenstein, like an Isaiah Alex Caruso, but it's just, I don't know. It doesn't seem too big for them. This is their second go round. You would sort of expect that, but it's kind of been business as usual in Thunder HQ, I would say.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I would say business as usual, quiet confidence, steadiness. As you've gone through this now, you've seen it. I think that one thing that's jumped out to me is being able to read between the lines of some of the verbiage of a team who understands what's in front of them, like an understanding that this is a great team. This is the best team in the NBA. This is the deepest team in the NBA. They have the recipe for a potential championship, and they're treating it as such. They're not moving the goalpost. They're not kind of fending off expectations. They're not swatting away the idea that they should go on a deep playoff run, or holding up like their age, or holding up learning still. Like I think the way Mark described development yesterday was a good way to put it. It's like, yes, this is still a young team who has to continually grow to have the sustainment that they want to have. But on Sunday, everything's about winning game one. And the way you develop is you try to win game one. However that game plays out, you learn from that game. Then on game two, you try all out to win game two. Like, they're going for it this year. And not to say that they weren't going for it last year, but there just seems to be a different demeanor about them, about the links of which they're going for it this year, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, listen, the Thunder we could be here 3 years from now, and the Thunder's coming off back-to-back NBA titles. They're still going to talk about development. That's just like
Yeah.
a central tenet of the organization. But that doesn't mean they're not trying to go all out to win. As you perfectly laid out and sort of relayed what Mark said yesterday. But it goes back. They're still a young team. Like, I think they're preparing for guys to get better as the playoffs are going on, especially for someone like Chet Holmgren, who I still think is kind of finding his pre-injury form. I'm not sure if AJ Mitchell is going to have a role or not, But if he does, he's definitely going to be working his way back. J-Dub, for his troubles in the second round last year, like I think he's going to be using that first round to kind of gain some confidence going into round 2 and beyond. So like you can't separate the development and youth of this team from where they are. It's like, yes, they're dominant. Yes, they very much have a chance to win it all. But it kind of just reminds you that this is the beginning.
It is the beginning, Joe. And with that, is there anything besides youth that gives you pause about this Thunder team?
No. I mean, that's my short answer. It's like I really don't. I guess Chet Holmgren, like, what if I thought his play was just inconsistent down the stretch? Like sometimes it would really pop and it's like, oh, there's Chet. But then it makes sense in games where it doesn't because he's coming off a fracture in his hip. But at the same time, the Thunder were so good without Holmgren that I think they could get to the NBA Finals and for him to not be at his best. Now, in the finals, I think you would need peak Chet to feel good about yourself. So, I mean, beyond that, like, sure, injuries are always a concern. This, Thunder team has dealt with a few of them, but that's something you can't really predict. A theme of the Dallas series was just, are the role players going to make their 3-pointers? And that's one of those things where I'm not super concerned. At the same time, it's like there's so much variance to that. They either are or they aren't, and we're about to find out. I guess you could say J-Dub. I'm not really worried about that just because the Thunder is so deep that even if it's not the best of J-Dub, it's not going to cost them, I think, in round 1 for sure. So I don't know. Maybe I'm downplaying it, but what do you think about that?
Yeah, I don't think that you're downplaying it. I think that it's really turning up for the Thunder right now. And you survey the league, and for as much as people might want to poke holes in the resume of the Thunder, you can see how other teams have bigger issues, right? And more vast issues. This Thunder team has, through adversity, racked up 68 wins. And they've lapped the field in the tough Western Conference. That they have the most double-digit points and yada, 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 of any NBA team, and they've made all this history. They're just really dang good, Joe. Yeah. And like they should feel the level of expectation to get to the NBA Finals. And what's fascinating is we haven't seen them play at a sustained stretch of the season while being fully healthy, but yet here they are now. They've made it through all of that, and they've made it through all that while being healthier now than they've ever been. Like they not only have the 10 days off, but the 10 days off with everybody back in the fold. Like Ousmane Dieng might still be on the injury report, but he's been at practice. He's been moving around good at practice. But like your core guys and your playoff rotation, which we're going to talk about coming up, like they're all there. And so that's more than most teams can say, despite the windy pathing road it took to get here. I think that the only other reservation you can have for this team is that 3-point shooting. And to me, it's a situation where if you want to still hold that over their head of, last year with a completely different rotation and a completely different context, they couldn't hit their threes. Sure, because technically they could not go in this year too. And then we just clutch onto that of like, oh, these guys can't hit threes in big moments, but they also could just make them. They also could just see them go in because the context changed. The spacing of this team has changed. The way that they set up those threes have changed. It's all change. It's all new. So I think that inexperience is a catch-all for stuff like that. For, okay, this is a young team. Can Cason Wallace, can these young guys step up and hit their shots? And they either will or they won't. But to me, that's like the biggest swing factor of all this. Because if this team is hitting their threes, they're going to go to the NBA Finals, and they're going to have a really good chance to win the championship. And I think that the ability to hit them is in large part just by not feeling that pressure in the moment, which comes with experience, which comes with seeing all last year what the playoffs were about. So we'll see. We'll see if they can actually come through in that department. But I would say inexperience / 3-point shooting would be the fatal flaw for this team if they can't get it done. But I really think that they've improved in that category. I think that they've improved at generating better threes than they were a year ago. at generating more sustainable open looks than they did a year ago. Because like a year ago, it was all dependent on this drive and kick where they'd drive into the lane, kick it out, and that works in the regular season for wide open threes out the wazoo. But then you saw against Dallas, whenever you play intense defense, whenever you play on a string and you get a team who's locked in for 48 minutes, it's easy whenever you're doing stationary catch and shoot stuff to have a team being on their stuff and flying out and contesting those shots and making them way more difficult than they were in the playoffs, since they were in the regular season. And that's a very hard adjustment to make in the playoffs. Whereas this year, they're using more off-ball screens, they're using more shot movement and player movement to get movement threes that you need to be able to hit in the playoffs, and they've been able to do that, especially in the second half of the season. So we'll see if they can do it. But one weakness, right, is better than any other team in the league can say.
Yeah.
At least in your conference can say. For their standpoint of how many weaknesses that you have. And at the end of the day, that's kind of the whole game, is just like who has the least blemishes and who has the less chips in the armor than any other team. So we'll talk about that Thunder playoff rotation. We'll talk about expectations for Oklahoma City coming up. But first, I want to say right now about Monarch Money. Joe, we need to check out Monarch Money because we have a lot of travel ahead, hopefully, for this Thunder team. And if you've ever checked your bank account and wondered where'd all your money go, I know where mine went. Uncle Sammy really did me in. Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in. It's your personal CFO. It gives you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending all in one place. So you just stop managing your money and start building your wealth. Make sure you check it all out today because I love the all-in-one convenience of not juggling multiple apps, just using Monarch Money to check your finances and tracking spending and your long-term goals. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com. 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com. Code LOCKEDONNBA for half off your first year. We're back on the Locked On Thunder podcast, on the Locked On Podcast Network, your teams every day. Joe, it's Thursday morning. We don't quite know what the Thunder future holds in the sense of their first-round opponent. But regardless, when you look at this team and they're fully healthy, and we know that Mark doesn't stick to the traditional playoff ruling of like, oh, you can only play 8, 9 guys, or you can only play 8 guys or then 7 guys at times. He's going to play deep into his roster like he did a year ago. My question to you would be, first of all, what would be the Joe starting lineup against Memphis/Dallas in round 1? And give me the 3 bench names that you trust the most.
Yeah, regardless of matchup, I like when they start Chet, bring Hartenstein off the bench. So I would go Shai, Dort, Dub, Chet, and probably Cason Wallace in there because, Rylan, we've talked about this. That's just such a tone-setting lineup with how they can get after you on the defensive end. And guys you trust most off the bench, obviously Isaiah Hartenstein is number 1. I think Alex Caruso is certainly in that mix. And then it's going to be a litany of guys, but Isaiah Joe, just to have that floor spacing capability. And I just love the way Hartenstein and Joe, their 2-man game, the way that Hartenstein is just so good at setting Isaiah Joe up for these movement threes. So those would be the first 3 guys off the bench, but I'm with you. I think they're going to play a lot of guys. Aaron Wiggins is going to play. Kenrich Williams, who really didn't play last year, is probably going to play. I mean, I mentioned AJ Mitchell. I wouldn't be surprised if they get him out there just to sort of see where he's at. Jay Will, who knows? Like, it's going to change game by game, but especially in the first round when, like, I think the Thunder is obviously you want to make the series as short as possible. I also think they're going to be able to experiment a little bit more than most teams can in the playoffs because they are so much better than their first round opponent.
Yeah, I really think that you look at the starting 5, and I agree with you. I'd do Shai, Cason, Dort, Dub, Chet, and then Hartenstein, of course, would be one of the 3. But I think it goes way beyond 3 of just, I would trust Hartenstein, I would trust Joe, and I would trust Caruso. And then past that, though, you got to find minutes for Wiggins just to try him out because of what he can create for himself in that secondary offense. And hopefully you can figure out how to elevate him defensively, because I think he's a really good defender against fellow guards. It's just that whenever you're forced to play him and use him to defend fours, and bigger wings, that's where he falters a little bit. Can you put lineups around him to where he doesn't have to defend those bigger wings and can instead defend guards and thus maximize him as a player, maximize him as an offensive creator? But Kenrich is going to have to play. Jay Will's going to get minutes. Like there could be X factors like Jay Will, who what if Chet and Hartenstein get into foul trouble? And this more so could be against any team, right? Like you try to play over aggressively on Zach Edey, they're going to hit you for a whistle. AD can get you into foul trouble. Jokic can get you into foul trouble the next round. Like Zubac, like there's capabilities for the Thunder bigs to get into foul trouble. And if Jay Will gets in that game and he keeps shooting the way he's shooting, where he's playing this best basketball of his life, like that's a massive series, flipper, so to say, with Jay Will. And then I do believe that there's an element of you kind of need Kenrich to play just because he's another guy who you trust to be a steadying presence and a physical presence. And the playoffs are all about physicality. And that becomes contagious. That becomes something that it rubs off on these young guys and really kind of leads them on the court, kind of lead by example in that role. But to me, your best bench players, like I think that it's a lot on Alex Caruso. This is why you made the trade, not to disregard the regular season, because obviously it still matters to the Thunder and it will always matter to the Thunder. But you got Alex Caruso because he can help you win 16 games in the playoffs, and he can be that defensive stopper. And he's around 40% for his career 3-point shooting, and he's hit big shots before. He's got to be able to do that for this Thunder team, and I think that he will. I really do. I think that you look at his post-All-Star break numbers, he's back up to 40% shooting during that stretch. He'll be able to help this Thunder team. So that's kind of where I'm at with rotation. Is I wouldn't get bogged down, and I don't think the Thunder would. So you at home, I wouldn't get bogged down in like, oh, who's going to have their minutes cut? I don't really think anyone is cut completely out. I think that the minute dispersion will clearly be different because you're not maybe in the first round you will because these teams are so bad, but going forward, you're going to play Shai 40 minutes. You're going to play J-Dub 37 minutes, 40 minutes himself. So you're going to play those guys more minutes. And those minutes have to come from somewhere. I think that those minutes might be kind of sliced, so to say, from the pie, but not from the bodies. Like they're still going to play 9, 10, 11 bodies. Obviously, the minute distribution will be a bit different, though.
I mean, we mentioned 11 guys. Our top 8 were the same. We both had Wiggins as that 9th guy, and then Kenrich and Jay Will are 10 and 11. And we all feel pretty good about those guys. And I'm with you on Kenrich. Like, you also just need some little bit of nasty in the playoffs. A guy who is gonna, bow up with another guy if he I don't know, if someone pushes Shai or Dub or something. Like Kenrich is that guy who isn't going to take a lot of crap. And I think you need that, especially on like a young team that has this innocence about them. Like Kenrich will just get in there. And I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, it's a great thing. Kenrich will get in there. I really trust iHeart to get in there. You saw that in the play-in, and then not the play-in, in the NBA Cup back in December with the Rockets and the Bucks even. Like,
you don't want to mess with those guys.
No, you don't want to mess with those guys, Joe. And we don't want to mess around with these predictions because we're going to hold your feet to the fire here, Joe.
Ooh.
Give me your predictions for the NBA playoffs. Where do the Thunder go? Who do they get through? Who do they not get through? What's the end goal here, Spence?
I've said it, for a while now. I think the Thunder are going to the NBA Finals. And I think that should be the expectation. Again, it's not a disaster if they don't. This team's got plenty of years ahead of it. But I think it would qualify as a disappointment, just given how, the West is good, but there's been a lot of turmoil in the West, whereas the Thunder has just been this cohesive, dominant unit all year. Unless you make me, I'm not going to make an NBA Finals prediction right now. But
you're going to.
I think it will be Thunder in Boston. I truly don't know who I'd pick. Yeah, I don't think you're going to make me. That's nice of you. So I think it'll be Thunder Celtics in the NBA Finals, and what a series that would be. Rylan, we have time. You'll have me back on before that happens, so then I can give you my pick then.
Okay, well, you're on the record with the two teams, and if you're right, then we'll get the game count and everything. But I hope to have you back on next week, Joe. I'm going to put you on the spot again next week since you failed to give me a finals prediction.
I took you all the way to the finals.
I know, but you failed to give me the winner, so you owe me another pod.
Okay.
We'll see if I can bully Joe into coming back on next week. But thank you for your time, Joe. Go read Joe in the Oklahoman as the best columnist, not named Greg Cody, in the world. Joe, thank you so much for joining us. Until next time, be good and be good to one another.